Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So Donald Trump pardoned Sheriff Joe. He had alluded to it the other night when he was gave his speech here in Arizona. And to hear the left, you think that he released 5 ISIS generals in return for a traitor. God. Yeah, no, Donald Trump pardoned Sheriff Joe for a miscarriage of justice. A man who was enforcing the law gets sentenced for contempt by Barack Obama's Justice Department, and everybody's upset that he gets pardoned. And of course, we are smart people, so we say, well, let's look at all the people that Barack Obama pardoned. These people that have gone out and committed heinous crimes, rapes, murders, murder of children, dealing drugs, gang-related activities. Then we learn that the new sheriff that replaced Sheriff Joe is releasing an average of 400 criminal illegals every 10 days. The newly elected sheriff of Arizona, Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzoni's new policy to protect illegals, even those who've committed serious state crimes, from deportation. So that's who we've replaced America's greatest sheriff with a guy who does not care about the sovereignty of Arizona citizens or American citizens at all. He said during a recent 10-day period, more than 400 criminal illegals were released from the Maricopa County Jail. Directly, they were involved in the process in Phoenix. Weekdays, they say, are busiest with an average of 40 criminal illegals getting released from Maricopa County Jail facilities. On the weekends, it drops to about 10 per day. The illegals have state criminal charges ranging from misdemeanors to felonies, DUI, drug offenses. There's no telling how many criminals he's putting on the streets at a high-ranking federal law official stationed in Arizona. Unbelievable. And by the way, Paul Ryan slammed President Trump for releasing Sheriff Joe. He sided with leftists in Sheriff Joe being released, a man who has upheld the law his entire career. It's all he's cared about is the rule of law. And he certainly wouldn't thwart it. This is amazing to me. But let's talk about how Donald Trump's going to be able to get back at some of these things. And, again, you're fighting your own brother. We have a civil war going on. It's not being fought at Antietam and Bunker Hill. But a civil war is being fought every single day in this country. In this story, they say the Trump administration has triggered visa sanctions against 4 countries who refuse to take back citizens that we've been trying to deport. You guys heard about this? They've been using this tactic for compliance. The Trump administration. Officials at Homeland Security and the State Department confirmed that they were going to crack down on these people who wouldn't take their, criminal citizens back. But they wouldn't name the 4 countries at the time. But sources who tracked the deliberation in recent weeks said the countries were Cambodia, Eritrea, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Now, I don't know how many of these countries, are, what criminals they have. How many people do we have? I know we have a lot from Eritrea, because we have quite a few from Ethiopia. But Sierra Leone, these are African countries, by the way. I'll accept Cambodia. And I don't know how many criminals we have that we're deporting on a regular basis to put this into any kind of context. But the fact that countries were willing, perhaps under Obama, to thwart us and say, no, we're not taking back our criminals to Eritrea, Cambodia, Guinea, or Sierra Leone. No, you keep them. And my curiosity is, because, let me tell you, we're not keeping anybody's criminals. Donald Trump will say, fine, we'll keep them. But you know what? That aid that you were promised, that the UN's going to send, it's not coming. You're going to take your citizens back. If they commit crimes in our country, they are not staying here. When did we become the dumping ground for the world when it comes to criminality? We've got MS5 gangs and a host of other Latino gangs. We've got, I mean, let me just say, if you're a criminal, if you think it's good for a person who's not a criminal in the United States, wait until you see how good it is for criminals. I mean, it is a bird's nest on the ground compared to their own countries where they get hands chopped off or killed for relatively minor things. They look at the United States as ripe for the picking, and we are. Anyway, triggering the sanctions fulfills a campaign promise by Trump, who had chided Obama for not doing more to force countries to take back their deportees. Now, does it surprise you that Barack Obama would say, you know what, no worries, we'll keep them. We'll keep them. I mean, we understand. You know, we understand. It's tough to get them back, you know. Once in office, Trump ordered the government to use a provision in the law that allows him to put sanctions on companies that don't want to, go with our deportation efforts. So Homeland Security then triggered the law by sending letters to the State Department last week, and now the State Department must halt issuance of visas to some or all of these country citizens. So nobody from Cambodia, Eritrea, Guinea, or Sierra Leone can come, nor could any other country who wanted to take that stance. Now, apparently these are the only 4 who are doing it. But let's see what else we can come up with to make sure that American citizens are safe. Let me put it to you this way. If we're at a point where somebody has to be deported because they're that bad, you got to know that this is a person that's a really bad character. We're not talking about somebody who's a maid who didn't pay her Social Security or something. We're talking about people who are committing heinous crimes against American citizens, and they got away with it under Barack Obama. I'm so glad to see somebody doing something. And I go back to, I heard this Brit. We're going to talk about this guy in the next segment. But he was talking about Donald Trump is ridiculed in America for keeping his campaign promises. He's ridiculed. He would go down in history as a guy who, the only candidate in political history who's actually done what he said he was going to do. And people don't like it. Well, people do like it. And then we'll play that clip of that guy, and I'll talk more about it here in a minute. But people, that is why you can disregard the polls and all the other things about Trump that people try to sell you on. It's because we are finally being represented. And Paul Ryan, how dare he? How dare he go against President Trump in pardoning a hero to America in Sheriff Joe? How can you do that in good conscience? This man thinks he's got a career. He's got no career. Not beyond what he's doing now.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.